lot of moisture in the atmosphere. So I'm just gonna look around, see if I can come up with a compositional idea, and then I'm gonna set up and go for it. Okay, so I'm not sure if it's visible, but out in the distance, there's some glare on the water, and also quite a bit of atmospheric perspective. You know, the rocks in the distance are much, much lighter. Not a lot of color. Sort of interesting pattern right here of whitewater along the sand. I am not inspired by the rocks, the arrangement of rocks at all, but that's something that I can kind of experiment with and move around. All right, so this is looking north and not super inspiring. There's no glare on the water, and so not as interesting. There's some really nice blue greens in these breaking waves. It's kind of tempting, actually. So I think I'm actually going to opt for doing a wave study, and I've got an 11 by 22 inch panel. 3 coats of gesso. Third coat has a little bit of pumice in it for absorbency and texture. Let's see, I'm using liquid as my medium, but I also have some liquid impasto. This is liquid original, which I'll be using for most of the painting, and I'm not sure if I'm going to use this. I haven't tried it yet, but maybe I will. Got a brush washer here with odorless mineral spirits. And then the colors, I don't have any cad yellow lemon out today, just titanium white, cadmium yellow medium, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, alizarin crimson, dioxazine purple, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, and I'm going to squeeze out a little bit of viridian and experiment with that. I like the idea that there are layers of waves, so there'll be one wave in the background that's maybe a darker blue or green, and then a more light colored green in the foreground, and then various areas of white water. All right, I'm going to start off by mixing a bunch of sort of blue-greenish water color. And then I'm using ultramarine, titanium white, and then I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna into this, and that'll kind of lean it towards green a bit. All right, now I'm adding a little bit of this viridian to it. Definitely got to go a little darker. I want to make it a little greener too, so I'm using cadmium yellow medium. All right, that's pretty good there. So now I've mixed up some sky color using ultramarine, white, and a little bit of alizarin crimson, and then I mixed in some yellow ochre to kind of gray it down. And you can see the difference, the relationship between the sky and the water there. Okay, so the idea was to mix up a couple piles of paint, one for the water, one for the sky, and then to just modify those colors as, you know, when needed. I did mix almost pure viridian into that first wave there just because I wanted it to be more green, so there'd be a clear separation from the one behind it. As you can see, if you look behind the panel, the colors are so washed out. There was so much fog that, you know, I was just kind of obviously exaggerating what I saw there to create an interesting painting, or what I hoped would be an interesting painting. One thing I'll mention is that while I was editing this video, I noticed that the composition went through many different versions of the composition, and some of them you may like better than others, but you know, you may be screaming at the screen, you know, stop, don't go any further. But the key thing is I am just playing around and experimenting, and you know, so it's again, I'm not necessarily trying to get a good painting out of it. If I do, that's great, but if I don't, that's okay too. So here I'm adding some really thick blue-green, and then also reinforcing the darks on the top of this wave. Okay, so I squeezed out a little bit of liquid impasto because I am just playing around here. And I'm going to try to use the impasto for the white portions. So we'll give it a go. Okay, for the whitewater on the tops of the distant wave, I used titanium white with a touch of ultramarine. I wanted the distant wave to be pushed back by having more atmosphere in the whitewater. I decided that I wanted a breaking wave, so I just kind of wiped things out and just put in a broken section. And that's one of the fun things about doing this kind of painting. Like I said, it's just playing around and nothing is too precious. That's a good exercise right there, just to be able to be comfortable with wiping things out and making major changes. It took me a long time before I felt comfortable doing that sort of thing. So it's definitely recommended. A lot of fun. So for a while there, I had this whitewater going all the way along the top, and it just seemed like it wasn't very interesting. So I decided to have sort of unbroken wave in this portion and a little bit of broken wave over there. I think that's better. Okay, so here it is in a frame, and I do feel like there's a good sense of atmosphere, like the waves in the distance do seem to be pushed back. And I like the colors as well. Alright, so these experimental wave paintings are just a fun way to play around with paint application. I come out here with no expectations. In fact, today I just wanted to get out of the house and do some plein air because it's going to rain for the next 3 or 4 days. So this was really fun. So even if the painting doesn't turn out, remember it's still good to go out there and play around. And that's one of the fun things about landscapes or seascapes is that you can kind of make it up. So it's a fun way to, like I said, play around with paint application. As far as the, what was it? Oh yeah, as far as the liquid impasto, I'm not necessarily a fan of it. Like, it works. It really does allow you to apply thick paint. But one of the things I like to do when I'm painting water is keep the paint very fluid. And so the impasto didn't allow me to kind of spread the water. Look at this. I gotta cut my hair. Allow me to spread the paint around the way that I usually like to spread paint around. So, but it did allow for some thick paint application, and I'm assuming it's gonna dry in 24 hours. That's what I've been told. So anyway, as usual, thanks for hanging out, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. These videos are made possible by the support I get on Patreon. I got a bunch of other videos on there talking about art and some demonstration stuff and materials lists, etc. If you want to help support the channel, there's a link down below. Other than that, stay creative, and I'll see you guys in the next video.